Good morning, students. After development of definitive heart, which is asked as a short note in embryology, this is another short note, but it is in the same sequence, same continuation, stage by stage. So today's topic is also can be asked as a short note, which is known as development of cardiac loop. So therefore, this development of cardiac loop, or it is known as bulboventricular loop, is asked as an independent topic, but it is a continuation after development of definitive heart. Therefore, we start with within the pericardial cavity, small pericardial cavity, the entire circulations of the heart. In the last segment, we have seen that the entire endothelial heart tube will develop craniocaudally into various circulations: bulbus cordis, primitive ventricle, primitive atrium, and sinus venosus. As these circulations will increase, it has to accommodate in a very small pericardial cavity. So this will be our pericardial cavity, in which this will be the somatopleuric layer. Now, inside here we want to show that this entire dorsal wall will be occupied by splanchnopleuric layer of mesenchyme. Now, in this segment, we would like to draw the truncus arteriosus, then we would like to draw bulbus cordis, and then the entire primitive ventricle. So this will be the primitive ventricle, then we will draw the primitive atrium, and then we will draw sinus venosus. This is how we have to draw. Please note down, this is the first diagram. Now, here truncus arteriosus, this will be known as bulbus cordis. This entire structure will be known as primitive ventricle till here. This will be known as primitive atrium, and this portion will be known as sinus venosus. So therefore, now, how this has happened? Initially it was a straight tube. What was this straight tube? This straight tube was, if you come on this side, if this is the pericardial cavity, here this is our pericardial cavity, then the tube was 1, 2, 3, 4, and the two subdivisions of sinus venosus. So bulbus cordis, primitive ventricle, primitive atrium, and the sinus venosus, and its two horns of sinus venosus. So initially this tube was like this, and this was the area of somatopleuric layer, and this was the area of splanchnopleuric layer. Now what has happened? As the heart tube circulations will dilate, as it will keep on dilating, it will increase in size. As it keeps on increasing in size, the size of this pericardial cavity will remain the same. So therefore, now this our enlarging and developing heart tube needs more space. As it needs more space, it will fold. It will form a loop. And where will this loop form from? This loop will be created at the junction of bulbus cordis and primitive ventricle. Since bulbus cordis and primitive ventricle will enlarge, therefore this loop will settle in the caudal and ventral direction. The entire loop from bulbus cordis and primitive ventricle, as it enlarges, it will settle in the ventral and caudal direction. What about this portion, primitive atrium and sinus venosus? This portion will slowly form the dorsal part. That means it will go posterior superior. Posterior superior to which segment? Posterior superior to bulbus cordis and primitive ventricle. Therefore, after this is a rough diagrammatic representation. Here what we have shown is, now this pericardial cavity is there. This structure here, if I just give some color here, let me show this as somatopleuric layer of intraembryonic mesoderm that is limited in the pericardial cavity. So this, here we leave this as somatopleuric layer only, which will form the ventral wall of pericardial cavity. So this loop which is formed between bulbous cordis and primitive ventricle will be known as bulboventricular loop. So as this loop is created, as I told you, this segment will settle in the ventral and caudal region, and therefore because of this, now this entire cardiac loop will have cephalic and caudal ends. The cephalic most end of this loop will be contributed by truncus arteriosus and bulbus cordis, and the caudal most end of this loop will be contributed by primitive ventricle. Therefore, in the next diagram, please come on this side here, we can show that this, we will show it as truncus arteriosus, then we will show this as bulbus cordis, above that truncus arteriosus, and similarly from here we are going to draw this entire wall of primitive ventricle. So let me write here primitive ventricle, and from here we are going to draw the primitive atrium. This will be the primitive atrium. Similarly here we show that this primitive atrium will continue down as sinus venosus. So let me demarcate from here. This goes the demarcation, primitive atrium, and here it goes another demarcation. This will be sinus venosus. So right and left horn of sinus venosus, in which there will be opening of the veins, as we have mentioned. So let me draw the veins also. Those veins which will open will be the common cardinal, vitelline, umbilical. Common cardinal, vitelline, umbilical. This is the cardiac loop which we are looking from ventral side, from the front. And that was the cardiac loop, this one, in a sagittal section. Please understand, sagittal section, how the cardiac loop is there. Still we are going to complete here where my hand is there. Please come on this side. Now this is the ventral view. So therefore this loop, as I was referring to now, the second point will be cephalic end. Cephalic end of the loop, please note down, will be contributed by, where my hand is there, truncus arteriosus and bulbus cordis. And it will settle there. Gradually it will settle on the ventral and on the right side of the pericardial cavity. What about the caudal loop, where my hand is there? This caudal loop will be by primitive ventricle. And where it will settle? It will settle slightly to the left side of the cardiac cavity, pericardial cavity. So this primitive ventricle will go to the left side of the pericardial cavity, that will form the caudal end of the bulboventricular loop, and this truncus arteriosus and bulbus cordis will form the cephalic end of bulboventricular loop, or it is called cardiac loop. Please note down. Now, as this is the loop which has been developed, there will be truncus arteriosus. So what will truncus arteriosus develop into? In future it will develop into aorta and pulmonary trunk, and the aorta and pulmonary trunk will contribute on either side through arterial arches to dorsal aorta. So if you come on this side, we need to complete here. Here we need to show that these arterial arches will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 arterial arches, and they will go on either side of pharynx. So therefore, now if I draw here the structure here, this I will show it as pharynx. Here I am showing this as pharynx. So let me give violet color to the pharynx to show that it is a part of the foregut. So here this is the pharynx. On either side of the pharynx, these arterial arches will communicate. Where it will communicate? Dorsally, it will communicate to this structure. And what is this structure? This structure is dorsal aorta. So therefore here I draw the entire dorsal aorta, and these arterial arches will communicate with dorsal aorta. So let us mark down now. This will be the dorsal aorta. Here all these are pharyngeal arterial arches. Please note down all these things. And here this will be the pharynx. So therefore now arterial end and this will be the venous end. So here I can just show there will be 1, 2, 3 veins, common cardinal, umbilical, vitelline opening into right and left horn. Now what will happen? Now initially there will be bulboventricular septa. This bulboventricular septum, if I show it like this, here on this side, it will be like this. Then after some time, this bulboventricular septum will disappear. So it will give rise to what it will develop into. After its disappearance, this bulboventricular septum will develop into bulboventricular canal. So there will be development of bulboventricular canal in between bulbous cordis and primitive ventricle. So therefore, now the cephalic limb, caudal limb, cephalic limb in which portion of pericardial cavity towards the right side, caudal limb by primitive ventricle on the left side of pericardial cavity, and we have drawn the sagittal section. Now here, splanchnopleuric layer of intraembryonic mesoderm. Where should we draw? The splanchnopleuric layer of intraembryonic mesoderm, yellow color I use, will be located dorsal or the roof, dorsal or roof of pericardial cavity. But note down, here we are going to draw this layer and we are going to leave it like this. So therefore now, in the previous segment, we have understood that splanchnopleuric layer of intraembryonic mesoderm and the endothelial heart tube is separated by myoepicardial mantle. This myoepicardial mantle is a derivative of splanchnopleuric layer of intraembryonic mesoderm. Later on, this myoepicardial mantle will cover the entire endothelial heart tube from the front to the side. So therefore now the layer of splanchnopleuric mesoderm, I will show it that this layer of splanchnopleuric layer will be covering the entire heart tube in this way, and this layer will now be known as myoepicardial mantle. So the splanchnopleuric layer of mesoderm will develop into the myoepicardial mantle, which will cover the entire endothelial heart tube, and from dorsal segment, from the dorsal wall, from the roof, the same layer, splanchnopleuric layer, will form the fold-like structure, and this fold will suspend the entire heart tube from the dorsal roof. Therefore, this septa which are developed from splanchnopleuric layer will be known as dorsal mesocardium. It will be known as dorsal mesocardium. So therefore, if we just mark it here, the dorsal mesocardium. This is nothing but a layer of splanchnopleuric layer which is suspending the heart tube from dorsal side.